In this video, I'm going to model for you how to read through a word problem. First, I'm going to read the problem in its entirety. Mara is tracking her walking distances. Her goal is to walk 15 miles per week. Each day, she tries to walk a little more. By how many miles did Mara exceed her goal? Below is a table with the days Monday through Friday listed, and for each day, an amount of miles that she walked. Monday is 2.5 miles. Tuesday is 2 3/4 miles. Wednesday is 3 1/4 miles. Thursday is 3 3/8 miles. And Friday she walked 3.5 miles. Now, before I solve this problem, I want to make sure I understand it. Basically, Mara is keeping track of all of her distances. She set a goal for herself. She wants to walk 15 miles each week, and she's trying to walk a little bit more each day. Now, the tricky part is the last sentence, which is a question. By how many miles did Mara exceed her goal? So if her goal is 15 miles, I want to understand that question. How many miles did Mara exceed her goal? Exceed means going beyond. So if her goal is 15 miles, Mara went beyond the 15 miles. So she walked more than 15 miles. So I'm going to have to find the difference between the amount that she actually walked and her goal of 15. So difference is going to mean I'm going to have to subtract. But before I can do subtraction, I need to figure out the total miles that Mara walked. And because this is a fraction problem, or there's mixed numbers, I'm going to have to work with fractions that have uncommon denominators. So that tells me, okay, when I'm adding or subtracting, I need to have a common denominator. So my plan is to add up these amounts, and once I have the total, then I'm going to subtract 15 from that total. That will give me the leftover, or the amount she exceeded. Now, to solve this problem, I need to write out the amounts, and I'm going to write them out here. So 2.5, 2 3/4, 3 1/4, 3 3/8, and 3.5. There are 5 numbers, just like the 5 numbers here, and I'm just going to make sure I wrote down the right numbers. Sometimes it's easy to make a mistake if you just write down the wrong number. Looks like everything is correct. I'm going to draw a long line over there because I'm going to have to change my denominators. So we want to find a common denominator first. I've got halves, fourths, and eighths. Well, the halves can be changed to eighths, and so can the fourths. So I'll go ahead and write that out. And hopefully by now, you know how to do this. So 2 times 4 is going to be 8. 4 times 2 is going to be 8. 4 times 2. We can keep this 3/8, and then 2 times 4 will give me 8ths. So then I'll rewrite my numbers over here. 1 times 4 is 4, so 2 and 4/8. 2 and 6/8. 3 and 2/8. 3 and 3/8. And the last one is 3 and 4/8. And again, I'm just going to quickly review, making sure I wrote down what I intended to write. 1 times 4 is 4, 3 times 2 is 6, 1 times 2 is 2, I'm going to bring that over, and then 1 times 4 is 4. Okay, now we have a common denominator. I'm going to add all of them together. I'm going to start with the numerators. I know my denominator will be an 8. 4 plus 6 is 10, plus 2 is 12, plus 3 is 15, plus 4 is 19. So I have 19/8, and then I'm just going to add up my whole numbers: 2, 4, 7, 10, 13. Now this 19/8 part of the mixed number is actually an improper fraction. So I want to change that to a mixed number and then add to the 13. So 8 goes into 19 2 times. So 13 plus 2, and I have 3 left over, so 3/8. So 13 plus 2 and 3/8 will give me a total of 15 and 3/8 miles. Now you might think that you're done. Sometimes when we have a big problem like this, where there's multiple things going on, if you solve one part or the first part, you might think, okay, I'm done. I can move on to the next question. But let's go back and review the actual question and remind ourselves what we're really looking for. By how many miles did Mara exceed her goal? So remember, her goal originally was 15 miles. We want to figure out how many miles extra did she walk. So we're going to subtract 15 and 3/8 minus, there's another piece of paper, or I'll do it over here. So 15 and 3/8 minus 15, because that was her goal. This is really going to be 0 over 0, so we're just bringing that down. 3/8, 15 take away, 15 is 0. So she exceeded her goal by 3/8 of a mile. 3/8. And that would be your answer. Now let's look back to see if that whole process made sense. I had to figure out the total before I could subtract it, or before I could figure out the distance between the goal and how much she exceeded, and that's what I did. So if I had other word problems, I would feel confident about moving forward to the next problem.